What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our Week 2 Team Builder for Dunsparces and Dragonites. This week we are taking on the AFC Ariados, coached by Arnoud. I'm sorry, I don't. I have no idea how to pronounce. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. I've heard it so many times, and I've pronounced it in my head so many different ways. Hopefully he'll correct me. To be completely honest, I really hope he does, because I'd love to get to know him a little bit better. I think he's a really cool dude, and I've talked to him a few times, and yeah, that's the kind of thing. This is going to be a really tough matchup. He's a really good battler. I think we have a really good matchup team-wise, though. He did make 2 drops. He dropped Duosian for Leafeon, and he dropped Trevenant for Mesprit. I don't really see that improving his team very, very much. Mesprit's pretty bad, and Leafeon has a good attack stat, a decent speed stat, and a good defense stat, but besides that, it's pretty horrible, and it gets absolutely terrible coverage, as we'll see when I go through my team builder. He has Azumarill, Mega Aerodactyl, Galvantula, Mesprit, Leafeon, Komodo, Heatran, Alolan Muck, Palisand, Stoutland, and Beartick. Palisand's really interesting. This is the first time I've ever seen this in Draft League format. I looked it up, and it gets basically a move called Short Up, which is essentially Slack Off only for it, but it does 2/3 healing in Sandstorm, which is the opposite of Synthesis, which does a quarter in Sandstorm, I believe. So yeah, he has priority in Azumarill with Aqua Jet, Muck with Shadow Sneak, Beartick with Aqua Jet, Galvantula with Sucker Punch, and Leafeon with Quick Attack. He has a hazard setting in Mega Aerodactyl with Stealth Rocks, Galvantula with Sticky Webs, Mesprit with Stealth Rocks, Komodo with Stealth Rocks, Heatran with Stealth Rocks, and Palisand with Stealth Rocks. His only form of hazard removal is Aerodactyl with Defog, and he has 2 4x weaknesses, Komodo to Fairy and Heatran to Ground. His team is extremely weak to Zygarde, as we'll see when I get to that, and I'm really looking forward to Zygarde actually bodying someone completely. His only switch into my Zygarde at this point in time that I can see is the Leafeon, unless he brings like an Intimidate, physically defensive Stoutland. It could be a thing. I mean, absolutely, it could be a thing. It's Draft League format, anything can happen. Let's run through our team real quick here. I do want to note, I'm filming this mildly in advance. This match, I believe, will take place between Christmas and New Year's Eve. That's the week. Absolutely hilarious that it falls into that week. I don't know if this match is going to be extended an extra week. I would doubt it. But this is the only league that I'm in that is not extended an extra week, so this would be the only game that I have to play this week anyways, so it'll be pretty easy to schedule around that because I won't have other games to schedule around. First up's Mom or Alamomola. This is our defensive check to the Mega Aerodactyl and the Azumarill. Neither of them can really touch me, and they'll start taking a lot of Rocky Helmet chip. Aerodactyl, I believe, gets Roost. I'm not entirely sure on that. I think it gets Roost, but Azu does not have any reliable recovery unless he's running Z Belly Drum, which he absolutely could be, and that would kind of screw my entire team up. I believe Alamomola could probably take a hit regardless, but I'm really scared of that. I'd be really scared of that because we're not running Scald. We're not running Scald, and that really sucks. Wish, Knockoff, Protect, and Toxic. We could potentially like Wish stall it out if he was Z Belly Drum. That's a thing that we could do. So, yeah, max HP, max defense, Impish. Yeah, Impish because we have a really good attack stat, and we're not utilizing our special attack stat this week because we're running Knockoff over Scald. So that's sort of the idea with that. Next up, Steve, another defensive wall. This takes on the Azu and the Mega Aerodactyl again really, really well. This also takes on the Alolan Muck pretty well too. We can take on the Komodo pretty well, besides Fighting Stab. And this checks the Leaf. This hard counters the Leafeon. This absolutely hard checks the Leafeon. There's nothing that thing can do to us. I'm worried about the Heatran with this set, which is why we're rocking Occaberry. I also think something like a Fire Punch from Alolan Muck would be his way of dealing with this. Something like a Fire Fang with Mega Aerodactyl would be his way of dealing with this. I want to say no. This is one of my 2 4x weaknesses on my team, and I think he'd be rocking the coverage for it. Yeah, Stealth Rock, Leech Seed, Endeavor, and Thunderwave. I think this is kind of neat. If he brings me down really low, I can Endeavor it, and then it'll die to Iron Barbs, potentially. Rocking Thunderwave to slow down some things, like Mega Aerodactyl in particular, is really, really fast. He has really poor speed tiers outside of Mega Aerodactyl. His next fastest thing is Galvantula at 108, and then after Galvantula, it's Leafeon at 95. A lot of his team is really slow. He has 3 base 50s. Which all benefit from sticky webs, which leads me to believe he would bring Galvantula, although I think Galvantula has a reasonably poor matchup against my team. He has a good switch into Chandelure and Heatran though, so I don't think that's necessarily the best idea. Oh, I totally forgot to mention that. I don't necessarily think Komodo is the greatest thing, because I think Togekiss kind of runs house on his team. And the fact that Komodo is weak to both of Togekiss's stab moves leads me to believe he won't bring it. I doubt that he would bring Heatran. If he does, it's Zygarde food for sure. I could see Palossand coming. I actually think Palossand will come. I don't see Stoutland coming, and I don't see Beartic coming. I think Beartic's pretty horrendous as a Pokemon in the first place, and I don't see it coming against my team. We're running a fairly standard, we're running the physically defensive set, the recommended set here. I don't really see myself needing the Spadef necessarily. Most of his team is physical attackers. He could just run like a specially offensive Komodo and throw me off guard, but I do think that physically offensive Komodo is potentially the better set now. Rocking Togekiss next, are flinched with our Chartyberry. I was thinking of running Kebiaberry to counter some Poison Stab. It's either between Kebiaberry and Chartyberry. I think Chartyberry is a little bit better because a lot of the things on his team get rock coverage, especially things like Mega Aerodactyl. I was really scared of the Komodo, but I know that thing gets rock coverage. We're rocking the mono-attacking Air Slash. This cannot touch the Heatran whatsoever, but potentially we can T-Wave it and switch into something that can. Alamomola, Zygarde. Defog Roost, I want to be able to get rid of his Stealth Rocks because I'm rocking 3 things weak to Stealth Rocks this week. Max Special Attack, Max Speed. This lets us Speed tie with Mesprit because we're both base 80s. If he wants to run fully speed invested Mesprit, then that's totally up to him. Otherwise, we're just going to be outspeeding Heatran regardless, and you know, we're just losing out on a little bit of special bulk. We also have Hawkeye, our Zapdos. I'm rocking a more offensive Zapdos this week with Life Orb, Static, Roost, T-Bolt, Volt Switch, and Drill Peck. I'm usually against Life Orb, like wholeheartedly against Life Orb on Mons, but Mons with reliable recovery and with things like Regenerator can really benefit from Life Orb, and then they just recover off the damage that they're taking from Life Orb. He doesn't have a ground type bar Palossand, and I don't know how well that thing's going to want to take a Drill Peck. We're not actually rocking any Water Stab, so he will never get the Water Compaction boost, which is kind of neat. Drill Peck's mostly there for the Leafeon, which I think might be his main electric switch-in. Outside of Palossand, Drill Peck's also going to hit the Galvantula for neutral damage, and it's going to hit the Komodo reasonably well. It's a 2-hit KO on Komodo, which is also what we're speed creeping with Zapdos. We're speed creeping for Komodo with the naive nature so that our Drill Peck is doing more damage. I'm already weak. I'm not necessarily weak to special moves, but his team in general does not have the best special attackers. In my mind, it's Komodo, Mesprit, and Heatran that are his special attackers, which I don't put in the top tier of special attackers, I'm not going to lie. So that's kind of cool. That's our Zapdos. We're also bringing Seabed Power, or Scolipede, with the ground EMZ this week to bop things like the Heatran and the Alolan Muck. Mostly the Alolan Muck because I think that it can tank and Earthquake otherwise. Otherwise, just nuking something like the Galvantula, like the Komodo. I think it's likely he brings like a Focus Sash, Galvantula lead with Sticky Webs. Oh, that's another reason we have Defog, is to get rid of the webs. This can also nuke something like the Azu. Potentially, he will never get a free setup turn on Scolipede. He actually has to switch out on Scolipede because Poison Jab just wrecks that thing's face. We're rocking Dual Stab with Poison Jab X Scissor. I didn't want to miss a Mega Horn against his team. We cannot touch, worthy to note, we cannot touch the Mega Aerodactyl with this, so we have to check Mega Aerodactyl with, with Zygarde, the Zapdos, and the Alamomola. SD is for some good setup. Potentially, we can just win the game with Scolipede. That's absolutely something that we could potentially do. I might consider leading Scolipede, hitting the Galvantula, getting the speed boost, hitting the Galvantula a second time, setting up an SD. Well, he would probably bring in Mega Aerodactyl. I think that he would lead either Mega Aerodactyl or Galvantula against me, or Mesprit if he brings Mesprit. So that's sort of the idea. Jolly with enough speed to speed creep. What are we outspeeding? We're outspeeding Galvantula with max attack, and I pop the rest into defense because not necessarily that I think that we're going to tank an Aerial Ace, but maybe. Maybe we tank an Aerial Ace. If we can Thunder Wave the Aerodactyl, then that could be something. But yeah, Mega Aerodactyl is a big threat to my team. Stone Edge hits pretty much everything, and Mega Medicham doesn't do a good enough job, especially if we're slowed by webs against his team. I would need too much coverage, and Mega Medicham's good against his team, don't get me wrong, but he's got a lot of priority, really good priority. Like Banded Azu Aquajet does a lot of damage to Mega Medicham, and I'm not necessarily willing to bring Mega Medicham for something like that. If I were to change something up before the game, I would probably change out Scolipede for Mega Medicham, or I would change out Zapdos for Mega Medicham. That's sort of the idea with that. That's, again, up to my discretion. And last but not least is Zygarde, which actually tears his team a new one. We do have to run Choice Scarf to outspeed the Mega Aerodactyl, but Thousand Arrows hits his entire team because it's a busted move. Alolan Muck gets 2-shot. Heatran with a Shuckberry gets 2-shot. Mesprit gets 2-shot. The Leafeon can tank it, but then I can just switch into Togekiss or Zapdos, and he's in even more trouble, especially because I have Thunder Wave on the Togekiss, and I can slow down his check to Togekiss in my mind, which is either going to be the Heatran or the Mega Aerodactyl. Outrage is there as Dragon Spam once his Fairy is dead, which is Azumarill. Extreme Speed is there in case I need it, and Crunch is there to hit the Palossand because I think Palossand could be run physically defensive and eat 1,000 arrows potentially. Enough speed to outspeed... What are we outspeeding? Galvantula. Max attack, rest into special defense. With this much special defense, we can actually live in Hidden Power Ice from Heatran if he's no special attack investment. What I found absolutely ridiculous is that Zygarde 10% is like pretty frail, and a no special attack Heatran HP Ice can actually OHKO us. So with this special defense investment, if he's not running offensive Heatran, he cannot OHKO us. That's pretty much it. I've got a lot to do, so I wanted to crank out this team builder as best as I could, and I will see you guys for the battle.